and blessings, all praises to the Most High. Tonight, I just want to give a quick testimony since it's Sunday. A lot of people talk about the injustices, and I talk about a lot of the injustices in the criminal justice system. So tonight, I want to talk about my own story about me being falsely accused of a crime that could have put me away for the rest of my life. And the crime is told, the story is told in this book right here. This is my second book, Wrongfully Accused, Rightfully Acquitted. And this tells of a incident that happened to me in 2013. And as the story go, I was wrongfully accused and I was acquitted. Now, if you I know a lot of people that wanted the book, so if you do want the books now, I do have the website up and running. You can go to www.taylorhousepublications.com. That's www.taylorhousepublishing.com, and the link is in the description of the video. But so here it is, right? So it's like February of 2013. Right, I had just finished publishing my first book. Now, my first book, if you want that as well, it's called Brushes with Death, The Blood of Jesus. That's about my life in the streets, all the dangerous things that happened to me, getting shot, going to jail, guns, dice, sex, all of those things that God saved me from, right? And so I had just finished publishing that book at the end of 2011. And so at the time, at the end of 2012. So at the time I'm in college, Norfolk State. This happened in Norfolk, Virginia. And so I'm in college. I'm running around with my books, promoting them. I'm excited because I finally accomplished something. I turned some lemons into lemonade. I turned my story into a book. I was, getting a lot of support. Actually, the school that I was going to, on my birthday, February 26th, they allowed me to do a speech about my book. And so on that day, I did the speech. The school student body came out. And so I was doing real good. I was feeling real good. I was doing good about myself. And so this one particular day, probably like 2 weeks after I did the speech, I was in the library. And I ran into this girl who I used to know when I was in the streets. I actually used to mess with her friend, but I hadn't seen her since then. So this probably had been about 10 years before that. And so I see her in the library, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" She's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I could tell she used to like me back in the days, but I was messing with her friend, so she really couldn't, make that jump. And so we started talking. And she was like, "Yeah, I think I did see you. I seen you on the marquee. When you was talking about your book. I didn't get a chance to come, but I wanted to." She was like, "Okay, well, yeah, you made a long, you came a long way. You made a lot of strides." I was like, "Yeah." I said, "What's been going on with you?" So she told me her story. Her story was like she had moved to like Danville, Virginia. She was with her baby's daddy. And he messed around and got locked up. He did like 5 years. During the whole 5 years, she had held him down. You don't know what held him down means? That means she put money on his book. She wrote him letters. She came to visit him during that whole 5 years. Now, when he got out, and this was probably like 6 months before I met her, or I ran into her again, she said that he had left her. He had just, when he got out, he stayed with her for a while. Then he left her for a white girl, right? And so I was like, I could tell she was still kind of recovering from it. So she said, "I just took all my stuff and I just moved. I left everything there and I just moved back home to Virginia Beach." And so we continued to talk or whatever. We exchanged numbers, and she said, "Well, I'm writing. I gotta write an English paper. So since you are a writer, I think you will be able to help me with the paper." So I said, "Okay." But, I kind of, I kind of tell that she was feeling me, and, I was kind of feeling her too. So probably about 2 or 3 days later, she called me. It was like, yeah, you're gonna help me with that paper. Now at the time, I'm staying with my child's mother. Now we wasn't together, but because I had recently got out of jail, probably like maybe a year before then, and I couldn't come back to North Carolina because I was on probation, she let me stay with her. So I was staying with her, but we weren't together. So this girl called me and was like, yeah, come to my house and let's work on this paper. So she came to my daughter's mother's house. She picked me up. She picked me up. We went and got Chinese food. She picked up a bottle of wine. We got to the house, and needless to say, the paper never got written. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of fill in the blanks, but the paper never got written. We got in there, we started sipping. One thing led to another, and we did some adult things, right? So, boom, the next night, she called me again. Hey, you coming over? Of course. So I go back over the next night. Same thing happened. And the next night. And the next night, right? So me being who I was at the time I was like 30. No, matter of fact, I was like 35. This was 10 years ago. So me being who I was at the time, I was like, well, since I've been staying over here all night, every night, I might as well move in. And she was like, okay, cool. So I spent the night that night, and then the next day after we went to school, she took me to my daughter's mother's house, and I grabbed all my things. Of course, back then I only had clothes. I was still I was trying to get myself together, but I didn't have myself together. So I grabbed all my clothes, went to this chick house. Now, mind you, she had two sons. She had a 7-year-old, and I think the youngest son was about 1, maybe 2. And so I moved in, we started playing the house thing. And once again, like that, so this is where I kind of take accountability for things that transpired, because I knew that she was kind of vulnerable. She had just been, kind of done wrong by her baby daddy. She was left with 2 kids. So I was like, well, I can play that role for her. But, deep down in my heart, I knew that's, not what I wanted. But nevertheless, I did, right? So I was staying there. We was, she would go to school. I would drop the son off at school. She would go to work. She'll come pick me up from school, this, that. So we having this whole little, I guess, relationship. But also, at the time, I had a girlfriend in North Carolina. Now, this girlfriend, we had started talking probably like a month before then. She knew my situation. She knew I was staying with my child's mother. And, she accepted it. So on these particular nights that I was staying with the girl from school, I would be on the phone talking to my girlfriend. And just like the first night I went over there, I was on the phone talking to my girlfriend, and she would just be quiet. She didn't have a problem with it, right? But I guess as time went on, she began to develop feelings or whatever. And so this one particular night, I'm on the phone, and actually this time I'm not even on the phone with my girlfriend. I'm on the phone with this other girl from school. We was just friends. So, this particular night, we had did our thing or whatever, and I couldn't go to sleep, so I came out in the front room, and I started talking on the phone. And then she just came out the room. Now, mind you, this is about a month in. She came out the room and was like, "Get out! Get out!" And I'm like, "Yo, what you mean? What you tripping off of? Like, no, I ain't going nowhere. Like, I'm on the phone. Get out! I'm tired of it, right?" And so I guess she wanted me to hang up the phone or do what she wanted me to do, but once again, in my state of mind, I was like, "No, I'm not hanging up, and I'm not going nowhere," right? And so she messed around and called the police. Do. Yeah, I got this guy in my house and he won't get out, right? And so I'm like, no, she didn't. Now, mind you, I got this record. I'm on probation. I don't play with the police, right? And so when the police came, or when they was coming, I was like, I ain't worried about it because I got clothes here, right? I wasn't worried about it because I got clothes here. So, and the reason I wasn't worried about it because like some years before, when I was in Virginia Beach, I had brought a girl over. I had brought a girl over to spend the night. And when I was trying to take her home, she wouldn't leave. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna call the police on you because I didn't I was like, I'm gonna call the police and tell them to come put you out. And so when the police came, I'm like, yeah, man, I live here. She don't live here. I want her out of my house. And the police was like, well, does she have clothes here? I was like, nah, she don't got clothes here. She don't live here. So I got an overnight bag. So the police said, well, since she has clothes here, you can't put her out, right? Now, mind you, so this was some years earlier. So that's in my mind. That's in the back of my mind when this girl is trying to put me up. Now, mind you, I got a closet full of clothes, shoes, and everything. And so when the police come, I'm like, nah, man, I got clothes here. She can't put me out. And the police looked at me. He looked at her. And of course, I guess it's always different. Two white police officers. He was like, yeah, sorry, Mr. Taylor, if your name ain't on the lease, you got to get out. And so I said, okay. All right, so I'm hot. I'm hot because, I had uprooted myself. Now, I could have always went back to my child's mother house, but I didn't want to keep running in and out like that. So at this point, I called one of my old loyal friends. Now, this girl, I had been kind of involved with her off and on since I moved to Virginia. So that was about 10 years ago. And so every time I would call her, she would come. She was just that loyal. She was just that cool. We had a nice bond like that. And so I called her, boom, she came to get me. I went, packed up all my stuff in her car. And, she took me down. She was standing at the beach. So I went down to the beach, laid up with her. Now, once again, I can take responsibility. I was totally out of line at this point in my life, right? So I stayed down with her. Was catching a bus to school. Didn't have a car or anything. So I'm catching a bus to school. I'm staying with her for about maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But mind you, she had 3 kids. Now, her kids was older, you know what I'm saying, like teenagers and preteen. So that situation, I know it wasn't going to kind of last too long, right? So I messed around and got a refund check from school, and so I got the refund check, and I was like, okay, well, look, I know it's kind of crowded on here, but I appreciate you for letting me stay. I am going to go. I'm gonna go find me a place, but in the meantime, I went to a place called Military Highway, and I got a hotel room. I got a hotel room for like 2 weeks. I paid for 2 weeks. And at the meantime, I was looking for a place. And after that 2 weeks, I finally found a place. I found a place, if you feel familiar with Norfolk, I found a place in Park Place. A place called Park Place. So I moved into Park Place. Once again, I'm still, walking around, with a book bag full of my books. Everywhere I go, I sell them. And if you missed it, the website is up. You can go purchase my books from www.taylorhousepublications.com. The link is in the description. So I'm walking around school again. I'm still, I'm trying to maintain. I'm trying to make it. Still catching the bus to go see my little daughter and everything like that. So one day I get a call from an anonymous number. This anonymous number, I was like, okay, I don't know this number. I answer the phone. Hello? This is the girl from school who recently put me out, right? And we just gonna call her Chloe, because that's what her name is in the book. That's not her real name, but we gonna call her Chloe. So Chloe called me. Hey, how you doing? Like nothing ain't ever happened, right? Nothing like she just didn't put me out of her house. So I'm like, bang, I banged on her instantly, banged on her. And so, mind you, once again, against my better judgment, I was like, well, we did have some good times, even though she called the police on me. What this chick want, right? And so when the chick I messed around and called her back. Called Chloe back. What's going on, man? I just want to let you know that you left some shoes here, and you got some mail here. And so I was like, man, what's wrong with you? Why you do that, man? Like, why? I don't know. Just da 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 da. She gave some kind of excuse, right? And so against my better judgment, I was like, okay, bring me the stuff. Bring me my stuff here, right? So I told her where I lived at. She came. I went to the car, went down, got in the car, and, and my what's on so why by the cat? So I went downstairs, got in the car with her. Get in the car. She like, yeah, she give me the old sad face, the old, sorry looking face or whatever. And so I'm like, I get my stuff. I'm like, man, what's up? What's up with you, man? Like, why you knew what it was when I came over there. So then she was like, well, I'm pregnant, right? So I'm like, oh Lord, here we go with this again. She said, I'm pregnant. I said, oh yeah? How you know? How so? Show me the proof. Well, I don't worry about it. I'm gonna get an abortion anyway, right? And so because I don't believe in abortions, right? I was like, nah, don't get an abortion. Like if you pregnant, I'll take care of it. Now, of course, probably I should have just said, yeah, go ahead. I don't care what you do, right? So, um, so she wanted that thing one more time. So basically, we I said, okay, man, don't worry about it. We'll talk about it, whatever. So from that day on, we started back talking, right? So now, once again, it's about 2 months. This is about 2 months, and this is about May. So time go on, probably like a week or two. She called me again. Hey, what you doing? At this time, I'm not doing nothing. Like I said, mind you, I don't have a car. I'm staying in this apartment. I'm trying to get on my feet. I'm not doing nothing. Well, me and my cousin, we finna go out here to the beach. You want to come with me? So I say, okay. Once again, against my better judgment. All right, come on, let's go. So she came to get me. Me and her cousin. Her and her cousin went down to the beach. We walk around. Have a couple of drinks. And then we go back to her house. We go back to her house, continue to to sip on some beverages, and then next thing you know, I found myself in her bed again, right? So I'm in her bed again. We do our thing. The next morning is is back to the ranch, right? And so probably like another week go by. Hey, what you doing? Nothing. I'm the kids at my mom's house, and I was wondering if you want to come over. All right, so once again, me not exercising discretion, I go again, right? So I go back this time, right? And so this last time, this is May 31st. I remember it like it was yesterday. May 31st. May 31st, she calls, I come. Right? She calls, and the next day, so I already had a plan. I said the next day, when I leave from your house, I'm gonna catch the bus to my daughter's mother's house and take my daughter to the beach. Me and my daughter were gonna ride to the beach. She loved the beach. So I get over there that night. Same routine happened. We, go to drinking. We go to doing our thing, and then after we do our thing, I'm still like, man, what am I doing here, man? Why am I with this chick, right? So I can't sleep. My conscience burning me. Mind you, like I said, I'm running around professing the blood of Jesus in my first book. How God saved me from all of these things, and so I get up, I go out to the front room, start watching TV, and then she come out and say, "You coming back? You coming back to bed?" I'm like, "Nah." But so eventually I go back in there. So she say, and so then it hit me. I was like, whatever happened to that pregnancy you talking about?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, I had an abortion." I said, "You had an abortion? Okay. All right, where's the proof? Like, don't they give you something for the abortion? Like, don't you got to sign something? Don't?" And I don't know. Y'all tell me in the comments. Is there something that they put at the time? I was thinking, yeah, they got to give you something like that. Ain't there something you sign? Ain't there a receipt or a medical? I don't know, right? So she was like, "Nah, they won't give me nothing." So then, right? So I noticed some pills on her dresser, right? And so at this time, I'm not as sharp because once again I was still drinking, I was still using occasionally. So I'm not as sharp. So I say, um she say, I say, "Well, what's them pills over there? Cause they prescription pills." Now once again, this is my against my better judgment. And I say, what's those pills right there?" She said, "Well, they gave me the pills for the abortion, right?" I said, "They gave you pills for the abortion? Like, what do you?" She wasn't pregnant. She was pregnant. Yeah, yeah. She might that might be true. I said, so she said they gave me some pills for the abortion. I was like, "They gave you pills for the abortion?" Because then my mind starts thinking. I was like, one day I did notice a bump on her leg. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, what I'm saying, what is just a regular hair bump or whatever. So now my mind's turning. I'm like, "Now what's these pills for real? Like, tell me the truth." I'm telling you, they gave me the pills for the abortion. I was like, "Okay, well, show me some paperwork for the abortion." And then so she hands me, like, she just throws she kind of gets irritated now, so she kind of throw me a Planned Parenthood packet, right? And so I look at the packet and it's just like information on, abortion and everything like that. And so I'm like, "What? This ain't telling me that. Like, I could go down there and get this." It said crazy bills. So 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 she said, "Well, nah, that is, I promise you, I ain't got no reason to lie to you and this, that, and the other." So she's starting an attitude. And at the time I've been drinking, so I get an attitude. I'm like, "Who you talking to? Like, what do you?" Matter of fact, I ain't got no business over here anyway. You call the police on me. And she's like, "I don't care. I don't care if I call the police." So we get into this big argument, right? This argument so big. And at this time, like I said, I didn't realize how much the power of words hurt people, right? And so I began to kind of tear her down with my words, telling her, about, her house, her hygiene, she was dirty, and like she did keep a lot of dishes in the sink, but that's a whole nother story. But so I just really kind of went in on her, told her about how bad her stuff was, all of that stuff, right? And so much so that she started crying. She started she started crying, right? She started crying, and I was like, "I don't care, don't come with the kids now. You try to get me locked up. I'm on probation, da 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 da, this, that, and the other." And so I'm really giving it to her, like, with with everything. Like, you ain't nothing, this, that, and the other, using all types of language. And then so she just breaks down crying. And I was like, "No, I don't care about that. I don't care about that." And so I walk down the stairs and I leave. Boom, shut the door. I shut the door and I was like, "Man, I'm hot. This shit got me hot." So it's a 7-Eleven right across the street. 7-Eleven is right across the street. So I go, that time I was smoking Black and Mild. So I get me a Black and Mild, go to hyping it up, whatever, take a little tobacco out so it won't be so strong. So I'm standing in front of the store smoking the Black and Mild. And while I'm smoking the Black and Mild, I see the police. I see the police circling around, where she stays. And so at that time, I'm like, I know this chick ain't called the police on me again, right? But mind you, this time, like, everything's like my phone, everything. I just walked to the store. I mean, not naked, but, naked in regards to my phone, my keys, or whatever. So I'm like, man, I know this chick ain't called the police on me. So by the time I said the police rolled by again, and so I walked back across the street, and I go into the apartment. You know what I'm saying? Dude, I left the door unlocked, so the door's unlocked. I walk upstairs. I'm like, yo, you call the police on me again? Yo, I didn't call the police. I ain't call the police. I'm like, man, you called, well, what they doing out there then? You just called the police on me again like this? And I knew I shouldn't have came over there again. So we go back to fussing again. So while we fussing, do. I'm like, you did call the police. I didn't call the police. I said, go get the door then. You go get the door. I said, I'm not getting the door. So police keep knocking. Do. And so we don't get the door. I don't get the door. She don't get the door. And so when the police leave, I'm like, man, take me home. Take me home. Nah, I'm not, I'm not taking you home. My son is in there. Now, at the time, her son was in there, right? He was like 1. The other son was staying somewhere else. So we got into a little bit of argument again. She started back crying. And then I started feeling guilty. My conscience started eating me, right? And so I say, all right, listen, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. I ain't mean none of that stuff I said. But, you and this police stuff, like, I can't do it. I'm on probation. I got an 8-year probation sentence. I can't get in no trouble or I'm going to jail for 8 years. Like, I don't play with the police stuff. And so she was like, I didn't mean that. Like, you just had me so this, that, and the other. I'm so emotional, blah, blah, blah. But, once again, I knew what it was. Like, I was playing with her feelings, right? So I was like, okay, well, listen, it's about 4:00 in the morning. I gotta go get my daughter in the morning when you leave. So, I'm finna go ahead and lay back down in the bed. You coming? She was like, nah, I gotta iron my clothes. Gotta iron my clothes. And uh-oh. Okay, they messing with the stream again. Can y'all hear me? Check his website. He got a whole testimony. Yeah, so I see that okay, am I back? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all see me? Can y'all see me? I know you can hear me. Can you see me? Put a 1 if you can see me. Okay, so y'all can see me. So now I go to sleep. I'm in the bed sleep, right? Mind you, I done took off, everything. Like, except only thing I had on was boxers. No, I had on gym shorts. Gym shorts, boxers, and a tank top. So I'm sleep. I lay down sleep, right? I felt like I'm sleep. Them sleeps that you can't tell whether it was a long time or a short time. Evidently, it was a short time, right? Probably like 20 or 30 minutes. So then I get a knock on the bed. Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor. I open my eyes. And there's 4 police officers standing on each corner of the bed. And so I'm waking up now, what I'm saying? I'm getting the hanks off. Mind you, we've been drinking all night, so I'm getting the hanks off. Like, I said, yeah, what's going on? He said, Mr. Taylor, stand up, put your hands behind your back. And so I stand up, I can't go nowhere. So I stand up, no barefoot, no shoes. And they immediately put one hand behind my back, put the other behind my back, and walk me out the room. As they walking me out the room, Chloe is sitting there at the ironing board, looking like this right here. That evil mad look. She's looking like this, just ironing her clothes, right? So I say, what in the world, right? So they walk me right past her, walk me down the stairs and out the door, right? And so the same policeman who came the first time, like 2 months earlier, was the same policeman that they allowed to walk me out of the house, right? And so I asked him, I'm like, man, what's going on, man? He was like, nothing, man. You just being detained. I said, detained? said, what you mean? What am I being detained? What am I being detained for? He said, well, you're being detained for possible abduction. Now, at the time, I didn't know what that actually meant. I've heard it before. So I'm like, abduction? What are you talking about, right? And so I messed around and they put me in the car. Like, he didn't say nothing else. They put me in the car. And this ain't the car with the soft cloth seats in the back. This is the hard plastic joints. You know what I'm saying? If anybody ever been in a police car, you know what I'm talking about. They had the hard plastic joint. They had the, you know what I'm saying, where you can at least lean back. Like, everything was hard and plastic. So I'm sitting back there, you know, and the dude just shut the door and he goes back in the house. So I'm just sitting there. I'm like, what you mean possible abduction? You know what? And so I sat there for about a good 15 minutes. And then I see like 3 other cars. Like, these are the unmarked cars, right? They swooping up. They swooping up. Boom, boom, boom. They get out. Boom. Close the door. Run in the house. Run upstairs. I'm like, what is they doing? What they got going on? And so they stay, you know, they once again they still in. They nobody comes out, right? Now the sun is coming up. Like, I sat in the car for about probably like an hour. The sun is coming up, man. And that, mind you, that your hands behind your back. Now you getting claustrophobic. If you ain't been claustrophobic, now you getting claustrophobic. So finally the officer comes out. And then, you know, when he get back in the car, he says, well, she let you back in, didn't you? I was like, yeah, but what's going on? What's going on, officer? He don't say nothing. He just drives me to the police station. And so now I'm in the police now. He didn't take me to the jail. They got a separate police station where they hold you for investigation. So he drives me to the police station, put me in this room. And y'all know what that room is. It has nothing but a metal slab, a silver bullet, as they call it, or the silver toilet with the sink above it with the 2 buttons that you can push and wash your hands, a little hole where the toilet paper go, and that's it. So I'm sitting in a little window. Like, I got a little window on the cell, and they got that covered up. So I'm sitting in this cell. Now, man, just like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting in the cell. Now, man, I don't have on nothing but a tank top, some shorts, and socks. And even though it's May 31st, almost June, y'all know how they keep them jail cells. Cold. So I'm in there like this in the fetal position. On that little metal slab, on that little cement slab. It's not the metal joint, it's the whole cement slab where I'm just sitting in there like this, just, you know, just tossing and turning and trying to get to sleep. But also, at the same time, I'm not worried because I know I haven't done anything. Right? So I'm just sitting there, man. Dude keep coming back, you know, looking through the flap. You know, they doing their little checks. So messed around. About 4 o'clock come. They finally get me out of this cell. So I get out. I go to, you know, they take me to the room. I'm in the room by myself again. I'm like, okay, now how long I'm going to have to wait in this room? So finally, 2 police officers come in. We got the older white gentleman that looked like Hunter from back in the days. I don't know if y'all remember Hunter, but that's an old show my dad used to watch. He looked like Hunter. And then it was a beautiful Latina chick. She looked like that Latina chick from New York Undercover. She put me in her mind. She was Detective Wara. Yara. Jara, because she was the good cop. And he was the bad cop, right? So they come in the room, they sit down there, they bring out their pad and stuff. All right, Mr. Taylor. What's going on? What happened? And so I'm like, What you mean? What happened? You tell me what? Why am I here? Why do y'all have me here? That's what we want to know. Why are you here? Hey man, I don't know. You tell me what have I done? I don't know. You tell us what happened. You tell us what happened in there. I'm like, man, what are you talking about? And then here goes the good cop, Mr. Taylor. Just tell us what happened because we want to know. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? What do you say? Why am I here? We go back and forth for about um 3 minutes, right? So finally I get fed up, right? So I'm like, listen, okay, I met this chick in February, and what I did, I told them the whole story that I just told y'all, even up to that night. So that's why, because I was like, okay, I haven't done nothing wrong. But as they say, anything you say can and will be used against you. Even if you think it won't. Whatever you say, they're going to use it against you. Even if there's nothing in there that incriminates you. Your words, so I always advise people, never say nothing, right? But because I was like, this is what happened, right? And so when I told him, I said, yeah, we had sex, and then we got into an argument. And then, I went to sleep, and this is, now I'm here. And the bad officer asked me one word. I got a little cold too. Y'all excuse me. But the bad officer said, well, was the sex consensual? And then it hit me. I was like, what? Was the sex consensual? I said, man, what you talking about? Yeah. What are you talking about? And then that's when it hit me though. He said, that's not what she says. And my whole world just came crashing down. Like, I mean, from the bottom, like that feeling right there, my whole world came crashing down. He was like, that's not what she said. And I was like, no, man, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. He was like, all right, Mr. Taylor. And he took his folder, and him and the other chick walked out the door. They walked out the door and left me in there. And I'm like, man, how in the world can I prove my innocence? Because we've all heard these stories, right? Somebody says, somebody do something. It doesn't have to be this, but a lot of times it is that. And then they come back 10, 15, 20 years later, and they find out they didn't do it, but they've been locked up for 20 years. So I'm in there, right? So I'm just like, now, of course, you know who I call on. God, Lord, what Lord? But in the end, I see that this was something I had to go through, right? And so they come back in and say, well, Mr. Taylor, we're gonna go ahead and charge you, right? I was like, man, but I didn't do nothing, man. Like, I didn't do nothing. I didn't do it. Like, when, sorry, well, you just, we're gonna go to the magistrate, right? And so they take me out of that room, and the magistrate is right in the next room. The magistrate, he don't even raise his head, right? So they reading him, the whatever, the evidence or whatever, they reading him that. And he just, writing. And I'm like, Mr. Magistrate, please believe me. I did not do none of that. Whatever they're saying I did, I didn't do any of that. Magistrate didn't listen to nothing. He just messed around and wrote and handed them the warrants. And these are the warrant, like, and so the guy looked at him. He was like, okay, well, Richard, you are being charged with the R word. You're charged with kidnapping, abduction with intent to defile, assault, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Now, the first 5 were felonies contributing to delinquency of a minor because her son was there. So they just piled on a whole bunch of charges. And I'm like, like there's nothing I can do, right? So they was like, okay, well, now we got to take you to the room, and the lady's going to come and perform a R-word kit on me, right? But I'm like, that's not going to prove anything because I'm telling you, we had sex. I'm telling you, we had sex, right? And so I thought about it. I said, okay, the only way I would take this test is they got to swab my whole body. And the reason I said that was because I remember when we were engaged, she was licking on my ears. She was licking on my neck, my chest, my thighs. Like I don't, but I'm glad she did though. I'm glad she did that night. I don't know what got into her that night, but she was licking everywhere. And I remembered that I did not take a shower after we finished. So I'm like, okay, the only way I take that test, you can swab, what you need to swab, but I need you to swab here. I need you to swab here. I need you to swab here, my stomach, everywhere, right? Because I knew if somebody is R-wording you, you're not doing all that to them, right? And so, Divine, nah, you're crazy. So, yeah, she did all that, Divine, on the way to that. But don't get sidetracked. Let's stick with the moral of the story. So, boom, the lady comes in. She swabs, what she supposed to swab. Then I was like, you gotta swab here too. So thank be to goodness, she swabbed here, she swabbed here, she swabbed here, she swabbed everywhere, right? And so I was like, cool. And they took me to jail. No bond, right? No bond, right? And so the next day, like, so this was a Saturday. So Monday, I gotta go before the court for arraignment. Arraignment is when you go before the judge and they assign you a lawyer. They read the charges out to you. They make you sign the waiver. Are you gonna hire your own lawyer or are you gonna use a court-appointed lawyer? Now, mind you, once again, broke, basically homeless. So I'm definitely gonna use this court-appointed lawyer. So court-appointed lawyer comes, we sign the paper, right? They send me to the 7th floor of the Norfolk City Jail. Norfolk, they call it 811, downtown. 811, the 7th floor is the roughest floor up there because that's where all of the killers, all of the shooters, all of the robbers, all of like the worst criminals, like that's the block. So they put me in a Crip block. Now, mind you, ain't affiliated or nothing. So I'm in the Crip block. But mind you, when I walk in there, I know how to handle myself. So, and plus with the type of charge I had, when you go in there, you can't let nobody know that you went there for that because that's like the lowest of the low of the charge. You know what I'm saying? People just might try you just because, not knowing you guilty or not, but they gonna try you just because. So I knew I had to be quiet for that reason. But also they had something called hopping on people's cases. That means if you start talking about your case, somebody else facing the rest of their life in prison, they're going to call their lawyer and say, yeah, I heard him say this. I'm willing to testify for that, this, other. So I knew I had to be quiet. So I go in there. I don't see nobody I know. I used to stay in the beach, so I don't really see nobody I know in there. And so the next day, the lawyer come up. His name is Jeffrey Halleck, right? Jeffrey Halleck come up there. So they don't come upstairs. They take me out of the cell and take me to a room, and I pick up the phone, and he downstairs. He pick up the phone. So I'm like, yeah, hey, Mr. Taylor. And he never looks at me one time in the whole time. He never looks at me. He just looking like this. Yeah, man. Okay, what's your name? Where you from? What's your mama name? Where you work at? Okay. All right. And so after he finished asking all them questions, I said, man, are you gonna even ask me what happened? I didn't do this, man. I'm totally innocent. He was like, yeah, well, we'll get to that later. I gotta go right now. And bam, hung up the phone on me. The screen went black. Screen went black. Nah, you good, D man. Screen went black. So I'm thinking, I am facing the rest of my life in prison, and this dude who was supposed to represent me didn't even ask me what happened. Right? And so now I go back to the cell. So now I say, okay, I gotta pray. Got my Bible, so got my Bible, got my just instantly start reading the Bible. Start reading the Bible. Because that's all I had, right? That's all I had. And so time go on, I keep calling this lawyer because I realized, okay, how can I prove my innocence? So I'm calling the lawyers like, hey, do you got the DNA records? I need the phone records. I need the motion of discovery. So anybody don't know what the motion of discovery is, that is all the evidence that the prosecution is going to present against you when you go to trial. So I'm calling this guy. I'm calling this office. He never answers. I'm telling his secretary, I need this, I need that, I need this, right? And we can't get the phone records because this, that, and the other. Well, the motion of discovery ain't came yet. Well, no, we don't have the DNA records yet. So I keep calling and calling and calling. Now, mind you, I'm living on a day-to-day basis in the jail. Now, if you are in a cell where everybody is facing the rest of their life in prison, you know how tense that could be, right? So I gotta watch this. I gotta watch my canteen. You got some cats in there that just mad. So you gotta learn how to just navigate the whole situation. Once again, everybody crip. So, you know what I'm saying? They know, they see me with the Bible, first of all. So don't nobody really mess with me when they see you on that type of time, right? And so, but I did get in a couple of scuffles, but maybe we'll talk about that another time. But finally, about 2 months come by, right? 2 months come by, it's time for the preliminary hearing. Now, the preliminary hearing is when you go to court and the prosecutor presents their information and your lawyer is supposed to present some information, and then the judge decide, is this enough information for you to go to trial? Or they can dismiss the charges at the preliminary hearing. So the day before the preliminary hearing, this lawyer, Mr. Jeffrey Allen, he comes up to the cell. I mean, he don't even come up to the cell, mind you. They take me out the room. He downstairs. I'm upstairs on the phone like this. He said, well, he pick up the phone. He said, well, Mr. Taylor, they offered you a plea agreement. And I think it's a really good agreement. But the only thing you have to do is waive the preliminary hearing, and they're going to offer you 9 to 27 years. And so I say 9 to 27 years. I said, Mr. Hallett, I didn't do it. You never even asked me what happened. I said, matter of fact, last time you hung up the phone on me. He said, oh yeah, well, matter of fact, I gotta go again right now too. See you tomorrow in court. Clicker. That's who I had to represent me. Right? That's who I had to represent me. And so I say, bam on the door. Guard, come take me back to my cell. I go in there, just lay down, because I'm done, right? I'm like, I gotta go in there tomorrow, and they're going to want to know if I'm guilty or not. What I'm gonna plead, right? So it was right then and there. I decided, okay, I'm gonna defend myself tomorrow because he don't know the particular questions that to ask her, right? So there's no way that he can ask her anything that would prove that she was lying. So we get into court the next day. The judge, they call my name. They call the case number. She's there. Chloe's there. The DA's there. She, you can tell she was playing for the other team. Y'all know what that means. You know what I'm saying? She was a white stud. Now, and the thing is, many people think Chloe is not white. Chloe is black. Chloe is black. It's always racial with the court system, but this was a black sister, who put me in this position. So, we get up there, right? And so before the prosecution start presenting their information, I said, Judge, with all due respect, Your Honor, I have no doubt that Mr. Hallett is a capable lawyer, but because I feel that he hasn't had time to prepare, he doesn't really know what's going on, I would like to represent myself today. I object, Your Honor. That is the prosecutor, right? I object, Your Honor. Mr. Taylor is not a lawyer. He hasn't passed the bar. And so the judge looked at her, then he looked back at me. He was like, well, that may be true, but, Mr. Taylor looks like a capable, sane individual, and, it is his right if he wants to represent himself. I don't think it's, in his best interest, but, he has his right, and, and he has counsel right beside him to assist him, right? So I said, boom. So they let them go first. So what this lady tells them, that, we had been in a relationship. She had kicked me out. She hadn't heard from me since the day that she had kicked me out. She hadn't heard from me since the day that she kicked me out. And then all of a sudden this night, I just show up on her door. I knock on the door. I bust in the door. I go upstairs. She says she goes and takes a shower, and then she comes out the shower and takes her baby and tries to put him to sleep. And then while she's in there putting her baby to sleep, I'm on my computer, and then all of a sudden she feels me getting on top of her, pinning her down on the bed, taking 2 pumps and getting up and then holding her hostage all night. That was basically her testimony, right? And so I was like, all right. So I get up. All right. So you said you didn't talk to me since the time in March that you called the police. I object, Your Honor. I'm talking about everything that I asked her. This lady objected, right? But I was like, so you didn't come pick me up? You didn't text me? You didn't do this? You didn't do that? But soon as she said no, that she hadn't talked to me since then, I was like, okay, I got her. So that's the only thing I was like, okay, well, that's proof in the pudding, right? So I get back to the cell. A week goes by. I'm calling this lawyer. You got to get the phone records. Where's that transcript? Where's the motion of discovery? Where's this? Where's that? Where's this? Matter of fact, I got that. I don't even have it. I meant to pull it out, but so I can show y'all. Matter of fact, hold on. It might be. Wow. Here it is. This is the motion of discovery, which I finally got. But hold on. we're going to get to this, right? But, so, time go on. I keep calling this lawyer. Listen, man, I need the phone records. We can't get the phone records because this, that, and the other. I need the court, the preliminary transcript where she's saying this, that, and the other. Where we can't get that. What about the DNA records? So, we can't get that. What about the most? So they can't get nothing. Every time I call them, they get nothing, right? He said, that's what I was thinking, not 2 pumps. Y'all silly. Yeah, 2 pumps, right? That was it, right? So I messed around and time goes on. It was about a month later, right? Now, mind you, I had been in there about 3 months. The court date was set for November the 4th, right? Because I was in there doing research, right? And so in the state of Virginia, and y'all listen to this because if you have somebody, no matter what state, in the state of Virginia, if you are being held without bond, you have the right to a speedy trial. And the speedy trial in Virginia is 150 days. So that's why it was set for November the 4th. But the only way that your speedy way to a speedy trial is negated is if you, the defendant, agree to a continuance, right? So this one day, I'm laying in the, it's early in the morning. If you ever been in jail, they wake you up at 3 o'clock to go to court. You know what I'm saying? They wake you up, they take you down to the jail, holding cell. You got to sit in there for about 2 or 3 hours, get those little bag lunches. You sit around with a whole bunch of people, everybody talking about their war stories and stuff. Yo, what's up, man? What's up, man? I see you, man. I see you. Da, da, da. Right? I don't know why people think jail is fun too. But so I'm sitting in there. So my lawyer comes, so we get over to the courtroom now. So now they transport us on the van, shackle us up. Now we over to the courtroom. So the courtroom, excuse me. So he comes to the door, peeks through the door, open the flap. Mind you, everybody is in there listening, right? And once again, with the type of charge I have, you don't want nobody to know that that's what kind of charge you are facing, right? Because that's very frowned upon. And so he opened up the flap, like, yeah, what's going on? Why am I here, man? Well, we gonna get a continuance. I was like, nah, man, I don't want a continuance, man. I wanna handle this that well. I haven't got this, that, and the other. The state wants to continue. I was like, nah, man. I don't want a continuance. And I was like, man, I said, listen, man, I didn't do anything, man. Like, wait, you not, he was like, well, sometimes, man, you just got to be a little rough, right? Sometimes, no really means yeah, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like, this is what this lawyer told me. When we about to go into court for a continuance, right? But I said, no, I'm not getting a continuance because if I do, then I'm liable to be sitting in jail till whenever they bring me to trial, right? So I'm like, nah, I don't want a continuance. Come on, man. So we get into court, right? We get into court and they, the judge called the case or whatever. I'm like, Judge, listen, once again, I have no doubt about his ability, but he has not gotten me anything I've asked for. He still hasn't asked me what has happened. If it would please the court, I would like to get another attorney because this guy, has not, done his job properly, right? And that's what y'all got to remember. When y'all get those court-appointed lawyers, y'all got to remember to speak up for yourself. So the judge looked and said, well, all right, Mr. Taylor, I'm going to assign to you B. Thomas Reed. B. Thomas Reed, you in the courtroom? Yeah, I'm in the court, Your Honor. So, boom, Mr. Reed, okay, this is your client. Mr. Reed looks at me, he said, shakes his head, right? Old white man, I never forget him, right? And so when I did that, this lawyer, Mr. Halleck, looked at the prosecutor and was like, I'm sorry. He wouldn't let me do it. That's what he said to her. I'm sorry. He wouldn't let me do it. And so that showed me that they had already agreed to send me up. Like he was not going to convict me. He was going to get this young DA a win. Now, mind you, because they had the stud DA, but they also had a young, probably she was like 27. She was a new DO, probably just out of law school, and she was like, that was her first case too, right? So of course, they got to get their cases up, they got to get those wins. So once again, they all work together. So we're going to get her this easy win off this case. This case that's going to send him to jail for 47 years for something he didn't do, right? So they got rid of him. They gave me B. Thomas Reed, right? So I get back to the cell. Mind you, I'm still not talking to nobody, but when you in jail like that and everybody facing big time, when you come at the court, people want to know, well, what happened, man? What happened? I was like, man, they gave me man, I got rid of that lawyer, and they gave me Thomas Reed. The dude, my cellmate, was like, what? You got Reed? You got Reed? Oh, man, you about to be straight, man. He obese. He obese. So I was like, okay. So that took a little burden off my shoulder, right? So then the next day, I get a call. Taylor, you got an attorney visit. So I get ready, put on my stuff, and I'm thinking I'm going to in the same room, right? I get in the room. Mr. Reed is in the room. Mr. Reed is in the room with me, right? And so, boom, I said, okay. So this man, we sat and talked for an hour. Like I told him about my history, told him about my books, told him about everything that happened. And he was like, he told me about he was like, my daughter, she OD'd and this. Like he really did his job. Like he really was like, all right, Taylor, you're gonna be fine. But I said, look, man, I need the DNA, I need emotional discovery, I need the phone records, and I need that transcript from the preliminary hearing because she lied there, right? Within a week, Mr. Taylor, you got mail, big envelopes, big yellow envelopes. Boom, phone records. Boom, motion of discovery. Took a while to get the DNA records, right? Boom, the preliminary hearing. And so I took all of those files to my bed, right? And every day I marked all. So first I took the phone records. I took from the day that she said that she never talked to me. I took the day and all her numbers. And most of the time they were from her to me. All the texts, I highlighted them. Right? And so then, the motion of discovery. The motion of discovery is everything that she told the detectives. Everything that she told the detectives. So it was one statement she told the police on the scene. I went through that, right? Then one statement she told the medical examiner. I went through that. One statement she told the detectives that talked to me. I went through that. And then one statement she told the prosecutor. So she had 4 statements. I went through each statement. In each statement, it was a different story. I'm in the cell working all day. Then I finally got the preliminary hearing transcript when I was asking her those questions, right? Did you do this? Did you do this? I got the preliminary hearing. I got the statements. I'm going through that. Okay, you said I didn't talk to you. Well, here's this day you talked to me. Here's this day you talked to me. I'm working. working, right? And so I got everything right there. Everything right there, just working. Okay, she said I took the keys here. She said the keys was on the dresser. She said that he went to sleep. He didn't go to sleep. He did. So I'm putting all of this together, right? And so I sent all of that back to B. Thomas Reed. B. Thomas Reed looks at it. I called, and every time I called his office, he answered. He said, he said, Mr. Taylor, you've missed your calling. You should have been a lawyer. I said, why is that? He said, I don't have to do anything. You've done it all. Like it's obvious that she's lying, right? And so I was like, okay, but I'm still worried now. I'm still worried. And then finally, he comes one day with the DNA records. The DNA records, and every point on my body, it's swabbed, right? And so I don't understand it, but I'm looking at, the points they swabbed, and I'm like, okay, well, this says such and such. This says such and such. So this says it rules out 99.99% of the people other than her. And so I'm like, what that means? You're like, that's her saliva on your neck. That's her saliva in your ear. That's her saliva, on your stomach. So there's no way if somebody comes and pumps you twice, your saliva will end up on them like that, right? So he was like, you'll be fine. But still, mind you, I'm scared because I just see all of the cases that I've studied throughout my whole life being me. So mind you, once again, I read through the Bible. Like that's when I really got to know God, because there was nobody I reached out to who was willing to help me. Like even my mother, right? Now my mother loves me to death, to life, right? And I was like, well, call my ex-girlfriend this. Tell him I will never do that. Call this girl. Call this girl. Call that girl. Call this girl. But the mere fact that I was in jail for that word is very powerful. So my mother couldn't even get in her mode, like, to tell people that I'm in jail for that. Because once you're in jail for that, people automatically assume you did it, right? And so I got close. I read the Bible from front to back, from back to front, from middle to back, from middle to front, from front to middle, from back to middle. Like I read the Bible in 5 months, 5 times straight through. Because that's all I had. I couldn't talk to nobody. I couldn't do nothing to nobody. I couldn't, nobody was there. Nobody was there. Like nobody was there. One person, the young chick that I was talking to the first time that she kicked me out, she's the only person who came to trial and gave me a character witness. Right? So, time for the trial come. The day of the trial come. Imagine. I'm scared. I said I'm not going to eat this whole trial. Like I'm going to fast this whole trial. No eating, no nothing, right? So the day of the trial, I had my Bible, right? I had my Bible. I rip out the whole book of Psalms. The whole book of Psalms. And, I stuff it in my socks or somewhere. No, I put it in my legal paperwork. So, because now I'm going to court, I got all this stuff, right? Got all this stuff that I put together. So, we get to court. We get to court. And the morning of the court, like now, my mom and dad, they came from North Carolina. They brought me this blue suit. And, I got the suit on, and then they put this thing on your leg. They put this brace on your leg where if you bend your knee and try to run, it lock up. So one leg, I had to walk like kind of straight or whatever. But I'm in there with a suit, right? And so the lawyer comes in that morning. He said, Mr. Taylor, he was like, well, they've offered you a plea. I said, yeah. What is the plea? He said, well, they're going to drop the R word. They're going to drop the kidnapping. They're going to drop the abduction. They're going to drop the abduction with intent to defile. Only thing you have to do is plead guilty, to felony assault. And you'll get time served. You'll walk out today. I think it's a pretty good plea, right? And I said, I do too. But I can't take it. I can't take that plea. And he said, why? I said, well, I'm already on probation. I'm on probation for when I got shot 3 times and I had substances at the scene. This Brushes with Death. Once again, it's available. TaylorHousePublications.com. And I appreciate y'all supporting in advance. But I was like, if I plead guilty to this right here, it's going to automatically revoke my probation. And I'm going to jail for 8 years anyway. So I can't take it. Now, mind you, if I wouldn't have been on probation, instead of facing a jury trial with an error of human judgment and spending the rest of my life in prison, of course, I would have taken it. I would have taken it. Let me out today. What's another felony, right? So, but I asked him, I said, well, why is she willing to drop the charges? Excuse my language, but I have to say what he just said, what he said. He said, because she knows it's bullshit. That's the DA. He said, she knows it's bullshit. And I was like, so I told her, I said, okay. So now my mind is churning. So I said, okay. So when we get in there, can't we say in front of the jury that she was going to drop all of these charges? And if she knows that I'm this horrible person that she's about to paint me to be, why would she agree to drop all these charges and let me out? The lawyer was like, nah, we can't say that. We can't say that because that taints the integrity of the negotiation system or something. I'm like, what? Like, no, the jury should know. Okay, well, because when we got in there, she painted me to be out this monster who just, did whatever they said I did, right? And so he was like, nah, we can't do that. I was like, okay, but nah, I can't take that plea, right? So the trial must go on. So if you ever been, I don't know who's been through a jury trial, but in a jury trial, they have something called the voir dire. The voir dire is when all of the people on jury duty come in the courtroom and they sit in there and the lawyers ask each person a question, and the lawyers either dismiss a person or they keep a person because they feel like, they're going to be good for them or good for the trial, unbiased or whatever, right? So I'm sitting there. So when they come in, we're sitting at the front. It's me in my blue suit, my lawyer, the prosecutor over there, and the other prosecutor, and we're sitting, people are walking in. So we're facing them, right? And so they was like, today you are here to hear the trial of one Mr. Richard Taylor, the defendant, and they told me to stand up, right? So I stood up, and he's charged with such and such and such and such and such and such and such, right? And so then they began the process of questioning each juror, right? And so they was like, the judge was like, is there anybody who feels that they could not judge this jury trial fairly, right? And I remember clearly, it was a black woman and a white man, right? And so they said, I can't judge it fairly, right? And so that's when they had to call a recess. So they took the black woman and the white man back with me, my lawyer, and the prosecutors, right? This how serious that word is, right? And so first the black woman comes in and they asked her, well, why do you feel like you can't judge this trial fairly? And the black woman said, well, when I first walked in and seen Mr. Taylor, I was like, wow, that's a handsome, nice, well-dressed black lawyer. Ah, man, that's a nice black lawyer, right? And then she said, when they read the charges against him, I thought to myself, wow, how could he do that? Right? Already in her mind, she had convicted me right then and there. Wow, how could he do that? Now, she couldn't judge fairly because she had said that she had a niece who had been R-worded. And, she everybody was guilty in her sight because of that, right? And so they dismiss her, right? Boom, ma'am, you can go. Next man, white man, older white man, right? They asked him, look, okay, why don't you think that you can judge fairly, right? And he was like, well, I had a best friend, and everybody was coming to me and telling me that he was assaulting my son. And I didn't believe him. I kept taking up for him. And then it was found out that it was true. He was crying when he was telling the story. He was crying when he was telling the story. And so he was like, I don't think, I could risk the possibility of him being guilty and me, like I'm gonna lean towards guilty more than I lean toward anything else, right? So that was he was dismissed, right? So they finally ended up picking a jury, right? I think it was like maybe it was 3 black women, 2 black men, young men, Hispanic, and the rest was white, right? So they picked the jury. The next day, we go to trial. Go to trial the next day, right? Prosecuting put on their thing, right? They bring, the police up. They bring the detectives up. They bring they bring the girlfriend up because this is what happened, right? When I went to sleep that morning, she texted her friend. She texted her friend and said, hey, call the police. Richard Taylor has held me and my son hostage all night. Right? And so it seemed nonsense. If somebody has held you hostage all night and did everything that you said I did, you wouldn't be texting nobody when I'm asleep. You would call the police yourself, or you would go out the house and go get the police, right? Go to the police station. You wouldn't text or risk somebody waking up who had done. So that was just totally just erroneous, right? But when she finally got on the stand, Mr. B. Thomas Reed ate her up. Only he pulled out and said, well, in the preliminary hearing, ma'am, you said this. You said you didn't talk to him. Look at this page right here. This is the phone records. What does that say? What does that number say? What does that number say? What does that number say? All of these are calls from your phone to his phone. And this, that, and that, like, he broke it down like where every question he asked, she couldn't say nothing, right? And I'm like, and I'm over there like this. Don't forget this one, right? Don't forget this one. Look, this one. And the bailiff. Like, so my mom and dad, and my mom was there, and I never seen my mother look so old. Like, even today, like the look on her face when I looked on her, man, that was just, it was like nothing I never seen. Like the despair. I don't even know what word to use. But she looked so old sitting in that courtroom with me, right? And so the judge, my lawyer, he went through all of the things, right? All the things that proved that she was lying, right? And then it came our turn to put on evidence. You want to testify? Definitely, I'm going to testify. Definitely, I'm going to testify. I'm going to definitely say everything that, I don't understand why nobody would not, if they facing the rest of their life, unless they guilty. I don't understand why nobody will not testify on their own behalf, right? And so I messed around, and first they called the um the DNA person, right? And the prosecutor gonna object. Like, no, we haven't had time to da 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 da. No, you knew that person would come to the judge. Was like, nah, they can testify. So on the DNA, they say, okay, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? And the DNA found on his neck is 99.99% hers or whatever. So they did that. Then they got me up there. I started telling what really happened. And then I broke down because they brought out my book bag. They had my book bag in custody because I left my book bag at the house. Now, she said I came in with a book bag, came in there, sat down after I bust in and just started doing some work on my laptop, right? So, but they took my book bag out and they start pulling stuff out my book bag, right? And when they started pulling out, they pulled out, my books. And that's when I just broke down. Because I was like, man, you know what I'm saying? That's something that I accomplished, and I'm gonna sit here on the stand fighting for my life for something I didn't do. And so I don't know. I don't even know why I broke down, but I just saw those books, man. I was like, man, I done came way too far. I done survived too much to be in this position, right? And so the trial ended. The trial ended like a Thursday. Mind you, the trial started on Monday. The trial ended on a Thursday, right? And so now the next day, the trial ended on a Thursday, right? Like lunchtime on a Thursday. So now I gotta go in the room in the holding cell and wait. Never in my life have I felt such a feeling of just like nothingness. Like nothingness. Like these people are about to decide my fate, right? And so I'm in there. I'm reading the Psalm. Lord, my enemies have risen up against me. Lord, don't let their lies and their wickedness take me. Those have risen up against me with false witnesses. Lord, you are my deliverer. You are my strong tower. You will not let me go to the pit of hell. You will all of the songs. Like, I'm just reading them. If anybody knows the Psalms of David, a lot of those Psalms he wrote while he was in despair. So I'm just pouring through them. Lord, you shall not rise up against my enemies. Smite them down. Don't let them be victorious of me. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about writing. I'm singing old hymns, I'm just in there worshiping and, you know what I mean? Like, just pouring my heart out, right? Because I don't know. Now, mind you, so now, it's been all day. And they haven't reached a verdict, right? So they They take me out the cell. They bring me back to the courtroom. I'm nervous. Still, I'm nervous. Has the jury reached the verdict? Nah, we haven't, Your Honor. All right, so we're going to adjourn for the next day, and then, we'll come back tomorrow. And so now, so mind you, this is my fourth day going to court. Every day I'm coming back with my stuff. Everybody like this, what happened, man? You taking it to trial? Because nobody took it to trial neither. Like, nobody took their cases to trial. Like, cats that was facing, like I was in there with cats with 42 years, 67 years, double bodies, like, 17. Like I was in there with some cats who had already got their time. Now, by that time, I had gotten in a fight with this guy, right? So I had to move blocks. But by this time, I was in a blood block. You know what I'm saying? And you'll see, you'll read about that in the book if y'all get the book. Mind you, the book is available, Wrongfully Accused, Rightfully Acquitted, on TaylorHousePublications.com. The link is in the description, right? So by this time, I'm in a blood block though. So I'm coming back to the blood block. And everybody looking at me, man, what happened, man? What happened? Man, the jury's still out, right? So that next morning, I go in there, right? Same thing. Go in the middle of the court. Okay, jury's going to adjourn to make sure to see what's going on, see the verdict. So I go in the holding cell, same routine. Lord, you are my shepherd. You are my guide. Lord, when the wicked, even mine enemies, come upon me to eat of my flesh, they will stumble and fall. Father, Lord, you know, oh Father, Lord, the cleanliness of my hand. Those blood guilty, I'm just reading those Psalms like never before, right? And so that morning, about 4 hours, lawyer comes back in. Had they reached the verdict? He said, nah. So now, I'm thinking, right? Because I think he might have said it's 10-2, right? But now, I don't know if it's 10 against me or 10 for me. And they trying to advance the other two. I don't know what to think, right? So I'm like, oh, Lord. And so I asked him. I said, okay, look. How long does it take for them to declare a mistrial? What, about a week or 2 weeks? If they can't come to a decision within the next, what it take, 2 weeks? You're like, nah, a hung jury, nah, that's only in the movies. Like if they don't come out, nothing by the end of the day, then it's gonna be a hung jury, right? So I was like, okay. So now my prayer switched, right? My prayer switched to, Lord, please don't let them be able to decide. Lord, please don't let them be able to decide. Please don't let them, Lord, please don't let them be able to decide. Lord, please let them stay deadlocked. You know what I'm saying? And so I prayed that prayer for a little while. But I was like, nah, I'm praying the wrong prayer. I didn't do this. So I was like, Lord, nah, please let them find me not guilty, Lord. Please let them, please let the truth be prevail. Please, Lord, and probably about 15 minutes after I started praying that prayer, cha-ching, ching. It's not my lawyer, it's the bailiff. Bailiff said, okay, they reached the verdict. Man, you just, and you don't know. You don't know. You just, I gotta go out there. I can't stay in here, right? Man, I get out there. I get into the courtroom. It's 100 deputies in that courtroom. And I'm like, oh man. Like, they convicted me. Because why else would there be 100 deputies in this courtroom? Why would there be? Because, I assume that they think I'm going to run, or they think I'm going to fight, I'm going to flip out on the judge. Man, I seen all those deputies by the door. I was like, man, I'm spending the rest of my life in prison. And then I looked at my mom. And my mom was just like, she did her hair like this, right? And so sitting out there, the judge, asked the bailiff, has the jury reached a verdict? Yes, they have, Your Honor. All right, bring the jury in. Jury comes in. Man, boy, I mean, he just even talk about this right here just brings that feeling right back, right? Stand up, Mr. Taylor. So I stand up. I look at the jury, and the young black dude, he gave me a little hint. He said, a young black dude, he was like, he did something like that. He gave me a little smile. I still won't, you know what I mean? I still won't trust it, right? And so it was like, well, on the charges of our word in the first degree, the jury finds Mr. Taylor not guilty. And when I heard that right there, I just broke down crying. I just broke down crying. I didn't hear nothing else. I didn't hear nothing else. I just broke down crying. And I didn't hear nothing else. And by the grace of God, all the rest of them was not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. And my child's mother was in the, she was in the audience. And I guess because she heard me drop down crying, she thought they said guilty. So she back there falling out, crying and stuff. But they said not guilty, not guilty. And I couldn't do nothing but thank God, man. And just cry. I just cried, man. I just cried. And when they read the verdict, one of the most malicious things that I ever seen was Chloe just walk out the courtroom smiling and laughing. All through the trial, her and her friends was over there just laughing like it was a game. And when I got back to the cell, I was like, so ain't nothing going to happen to her? Like all of those lies that she told on the scene, perjury, like she not going to be charged or nothing? He was like, nah. I mean, I said, well, I can sue her, right? I can sue her. He was like, you can sue her, but she don't have any money. And he said, well, write a book about it. And I was just shook my head. But of course, I took his advice once again, wrongfully accused, rightfully acquitted. But that has always bothered me. Because how can someone put things in motion that could cost you the rest of your life, but when they found out to be lying, they get to walk free? Now, I this is because I know, once again, I know that because I lived through it and because I see how people looked at it, I know that our word and that our event is a very traumatic, emotional event for women and men. That's, because a lot of men get R-worded or M-O-S-ed or, S assaulted, even as young men, even as old men. I don't know. So I know the seriousness of it. So I don't take that for granted. But the same way that people garner sympathy or people want to give retribution to someone who does that, I feel that the same retribution, the same penalty that they was going to give me should be given to that person who falsely accused another. I think it's, I don't know, but because I've lived it though. Like if anybody will play about something like that, I would want them to get the same penalty that was going to be given to the person that they accused. Now that's why all of these accusations, once again, because I've lived it though. I always got to err on the side of, all right, I mean, you gotta show me the money. Where's the proof with all of these people? These parties, these B2s, these people can easily say that, and so that's why I don't. I always I take it as, and that makes it bad for when the people it really happens to. That makes it bad. The people who lie about it make it bad for the people it really happens to. And so that's where you get that gray line of, oh well, what was she wearing? Why did you come there at night? Once again, it doesn't matter if you came there at night or you came there in the morning. If somebody ain't nobody got no business taking nothing, right? You know what I'm saying? Like I tell people, I'll buy it or pass it up before I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? That's my motto. But um the the that it makes it bad for people who it really happens to when other people take it lightly. Um so and people always ask me, what would you do if I see her? I have never saw her again. I've seen her friend, and the same friend I used to mess with, who I met her through. And I was like, you know what she did to me? And she was like, well, I ain't got nothing to do with that or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because of course, once again, when some people say somebody did that, people automatically believe it. And so I hope that story is enlightening and encouraging to somebody. I know why God had me to go through that, because I was kind of playing with him, and also with with others. Like I said, I was involved with a multitude of women at the time. So that was his way of say, listen, man, you can't be out here professing this and doing this. And so that was his way of bringing me closer to him. Like, even when I was shot, that was his way of taking me out the streets. Like remind you, like when this happened, I was already out the streets. I was in college. I was, but I still won't all the way right. But I think yeah, the same allegation. Yeah, so, like stuff like that can get people really hurt, man. You know what I mean, and destroy families. So, if y'all do want the whole story, I know I gave y'all a lot of it, but if y'all do want the whole story, once again, this book is available on my website, Taylor House Publications. It's in the description, or you can get this book as well, Brushes with Death, the Blood of Jesus, or you can get Son of a Preacher Man. That book right there that deals with my father and his hard life, and how he turned from a drug addict to a good father, and the importance of fatherhood, especially in the black community. And this one, Blue Lights in My Rear View. This deals with a lot of the cases that we talk about. And this is my experiences with police. That's why I have so much information on how, they do, and, the protocols and things of that nature. So if y'all will and can, I appreciate y'all. There's a way you can donate on the site as well. If you have a book that you want published, and once again, I do publish books for other people as well. Or if you want to book me for a speaking engagement or collaboration or networking, you can all, fill out those forms on the site. As well as if you have a story that needs to be shared, there's a submission form up there. Or if you want to come on the Taylor House Publishing channel and share your story, you can do that as well. And also, there's going to be some more stuff added to the site. But I thank God that I've finally got the site up after a couple of hiccups. But they definitely, the books can be purchased there. But I certainly thank y'all for tuning in and supporting, man. But it's just something that I had to share tonight, because dealing with the legal system, many people don't know. your rights. A lot of people, I get calls all the time where people being silent. Um, People being silent, and not speaking up for themselves. Like I got a young lady now who's going to court for a serious charge. She's calling me and was like, I can't talk to this lawyer. When I got into the court, it was like 20 other people who said that they didn't talk to this lawyer. Get rid of them. That you have a right to get um some good legal representation. So that, and just the prosecution, that they knew I was innocent. That DA, like my lawyer said, she knew I was innocent, but their job is to get convictions, not justice. They was going to get that new DA a major conviction to add some years. Judges and prosecutors get promotions on how many years that they cases amount to. So a lot of the time, it is not about justice, as my case won't. They knew I was, and in hindsight, I should have sued them, for malicious or unfair prosecution. But I was just so happy to be out of them doors that I just wanted to go home and just exhale. But I didn't get a chance to exhale too long, because 3 months later I had two brain aneurysms, and I think that was from the stress of the trial, and also probably from a couple of the fights that I got in. But I'll tell y'all about those later. Or if you want to read about them, you can get the books as well. But yeah, I appreciate you, everybody, for tuning in, sharing the video. Make sure you share the video, like, share, subscribe. But I appreciate y'all. May God bless y'all and look upon y'all. If y'all have somebody that's going through some legal situations, and you kind of want some insight or advice about it, feel free to reach out to me. And you can still call me. My number ain't changed, 919-587-7782. But if you need some kind of guidance in that area, feel free to reach out. But I thank y'all for tuning in. God bless y'all. Y'all have a blessed night. Peace and love.